Welcome back, everybody, to the V6 Accord build. In this video, we are going to be installing an Acura big brake kit on the car. Now here's the deal. Before we install the big brake kit, I want to get some baseline tests with the factory brakes. So I've devised 3 separate tests. We're currently here in the mountains of Georgia, and the first test is going to be doing one run down the mountain road, and we're going to measure the temperature of the brakes at the beginning of the run and at the very end of the run. Now, of course, if I just go all out to the limit of the brakes, it's not going to really help because the big brakes are going to perform better, and so I'm going to be able to push them harder and thus get them just as hot. So what we're going to do is we're going to try to maintain 50 miles an hour down the mountain road. That way it's the same for the stock brakes and the big brakes. Now at the very end of the mountain run, we're going to do a 60 to 0 test when the brakes are already cooked. And then we'll also do a 60 to 0 test with the brakes at normal operating temperature. So 3 tests: temperature test, hot braking test, and cold braking test. The starting temperature of the brakes is about 150 degrees on both the caliper and the rotor. We're gonna try to maintain about 50 to 60 miles an hour down this mountain. Little brake there. And then I'm gonna try to accelerate up to 50, stay there, a little brake. Okay. Oh, they're starting to shake more. The rotors are definitely warped. Braking. Oh, some squeaking. This car handles great with the new coilovers and such. Big brake there. Okay, on this next straightaway, I'm gonna hit 60 and then slam on the brakes. All right, that is 60 and 3, 2, 1. Oh yeah, you smell them. Oh, they are cooked. Calipers around 230, rotor, oh, the rotor's cooked. 400 there, 430. So 452 is the max right there. Meaning the caliper gained about 80 degrees and the rotor gained about 300 degrees during the mountain run test. The result of the hot braking test was 3.11 seconds. Now we're gonna let the brakes cool off, back to 150 degrees, and we'll do a cold stop. All right, 60 miles an hour. 3, 2, 1, go. Oh man, it stopped way better, I think. So now that we have our baseline testing done, I can show you guys the big brakes that we're going to be installing on this thing. This is the main part. These are Acura RL brake calipers. It is a factory 4-piston Brembo brake caliper that came on the Acura RL. They're pretty cheap used. You can get them online for a couple $100. But let me tell you, these did not come looking this good. Instead, they came looking like this. Crusty, old, not red. So real quickly, I'm gonna show you how I restored these calipers. The first step was to thoroughly clean the calipers with degreaser and a wire brush. Then I went ahead and scuffed the calipers with a red scuff pad and finished it off with yet another clean. Now they look more like Brembos. The only unfortunate thing was that one of them was leaking brake fluid. And the entire backside is now got no paint on it, but you can't really tell from the front, so we're gonna just send it. Now, in order to install that onto the Accord, we have a fast brakes adapter bracket, which comes with the bracket, all sorts of bolts and washers to make everything work. And then we have a Nissan Maxima brake rotor, which is a 1-piece rotor, but it is much bigger, as you can tell, much thicker. Then we have some Power Stop carbon ceramic brake pads. These are their like upgraded sport versions. And then we have stainless steel brake lines. Now the rear is going to be staying factory size, but we do have new rotors and upgrade pads for that as well. So now we have to install everything. Oh, this is a pretty big instruction manual. All right. Oh, shit. Hello? What a surprise, a spam call. But that's where the sponsor of today's video, Aura, comes into play. See, I know one of the reasons I get so many spam texts and calls is because big companies can't keep our data safe. Recently, AT&T revealed that nearly all of their customers' calls and text records had been leaked online in a massive data breach. A few months later, they admitted over 70 million of their customers' social security numbers ended up on the dark web. But it gets worse. The stolen data also contained a record of every number AT&T customers called or texted. So even if you don't use AT&T, if someone who texted you did, your number has been exposed. So what can you do to protect yourself? Aura. Aura will alert me if they find that my phone number or any other sensitive information has been compromised. And they give me fast fraud alerts if anyone tries to use that information to access my credit or bank accounts. With Aura, I also get things like transaction monitoring, a VPN, antivirus, a password manager, parental controls, and identity theft insurance. I get all of this in one app with one affordable price. Oh, but let's not forget, I can also get their AI-powered call assistant that will pick up unknown calls on my behalf and screen them for spam or scams. The AI forwards legitimate calls to me, that way I don't miss appointments, deliveries, and emergencies. It also protects me from harmful text messages by filtering out known spam numbers and scanning links in the messages for phishing threats. So it ends now. I'm not leaving myself vulnerable to data breaches. And if you don't want to either, you can go to aura.com/Gingium and try your first 2 weeks for free. The link will be in the description down below and up there in the cards. Huge thank you to Aura for sponsoring this video. Let's get back to this big break kit. You can see a little comparison in the size difference, probably 20 millimeter bigger in diameter and slightly thicker. And then we got the caliper over here. Single piston caliper, one big old piston on the slides versus our beautiful 4-piston Brembos. Big size difference there. Adapter bracket goes on like that, super simple. But first we're gonna clean this off and then put the new ring on. So there we have it. That is a nice looking brake setup right there. Rotor, caliper, pads are in there, and the stainless steel brake line is also in there. Now, does that fit? Easy peasy. Oh, that looks so good. Crazy what a nice looking caliper will do. Is it super huge? No, but it looks really nice, fills up the wheel much better, ties in the red. But before we continue to the rear, I gotta go ahead and do the other side. And so now the driver's side is also done. I'm gonna do things a little bit differently for the rears. Instead of disassembling and reassembling one side then doing the other side, I'm just gonna go ahead and disassemble both sides. I haven't cleaned up and painted the calipers yet, so we have to do that first. Calipers are off. Before I try to remove this rotor, I'm gonna go get that extractor tool that you guys recommended so I don't have to do any more drilling out. But in the meantime, I'm gonna get these calipers prepped for paint. So it's pretty much the exact same process that we did on the front. It's just that these are a little smaller and less cool looking. Might as well just fucking drill it out at this point. My God. I want my money back. Well, rear brakes are in. They look really nice. Very clean, very OEM. The reason why I went with black on the back calipers was just to kind of hide them because they're small and ugly. And so that just kind of looks like a nice clean OEM setup. And then you got the big brakes up front. One other thing we're gonna be doing is putting nicer fluid in this, because one of the sketchiest things if you're pushing your brakes hard, going on the track or something, is if you got cheap fluid with a lower boiling point, is you can actually boil the fluid, and then your brake lines fill with air, and then you lose your brakes and you crash and possibly die. So put nice brake fluid in your car. I got some Wilwood EXP 600 Plus Racing brake fluid, .4. Well, nightmare situation pretty much happened. What you guys didn't see is that off camera, the bleeder on this brake caliper snapped. Here's lesson number 1. Make sure the bleeders break loose when the caliper's outside the car and you can use heat and everything and before you paint it. So I didn't do that, and that was a big mistake. But after it snapped off, I tried everything to get the broken bleeder out of the caliper. Eventually I was able to get it with an extractor, like a screw extractor, but it was a mess. Took me hours and I definitely damaged the threads a little bit. Now the problem about brake bleeders is that they have a machined little bevel at the end that actually seals the brake fluid. So you can't necessarily just drill it out to a bigger size and retap it, because that machined part at the end of the bleeder, if it doesn't line up, it's not gonna seal. Well, I was able to get a new bleeder in there without having to drill it up, without having to move up in size. But since the threads were damaged, I wasn't able to get enough clamping force to prevent it from leaking. We just bled all the brakes, and with the bleeder tightened a decent amount, it would still seep out through. Tried tightening it more to prevent it from seeping, stripped it. Now this caliper is back to being useless. I am going to try to drill it up to the next size and use a bigger bleeder. If that doesn't work though, this caliper's toast, and you can only get these calipers used, and shipping takes a week, and this is the only thing I have to work on, so it could be bad news for me and for you. You don't get a video, and I don't make any money. All right, let's give it one shot. Oh, and the problem is now I have to drain it out of fluid, so that's annoying. All that beautiful Wilwood Racing brake fluid. Bye-bye, bye-bye, thanks for doing absolutely nothing. Here goes nothing. I hate these drill bits, bro. Please, no one ever make a drill bit that just doesn't have a flange. Well, the bleeder is in there. It seems to have torqued down nicely, so I think we're good, but that's what I thought last time. We're not gonna know until we start trying to pressurize this thing and really bleeding it and getting the pressure up. All right, go and pump. So it's leaking right now, so I'm gonna tighten it more. All right, pump. Okay, I think that's good. Doesn't look like it's leaking anymore. Thankfully, we were able to successfully bleed the brakes without any leaks, and so now it was time to test them. Of course, after admiring them for a little bit. Nice. So far they feel pretty good. They're much more predictable. I feel like the other ones were kind of touchy. because it's just one big piston. Now, one thing we want to do too is bed these things in. So that's pretty much, we want to slowly bring the heat up, get them nice and cooked, and then let them cool off without the brakes touching again. I'm gonna go ahead and do a series of like 40 to 0 brakes until they get nice and hot. All right, so this is 40. I'm just gonna go not too aggressively, but relatively aggressively slow down. Then I'm gonna speed back up. I'm gonna hit him again. All right, last little brake. And now, just drive around in circles around the parking lot until the brakes reach operating temperature again. Keep them rolling. Oh yeah, I smell them. Whew, man, those are some hot brakes. All right, we're back in the mountains of Georgia here. We can really test out these brakes. But of course, before we do the brake tests, the real ones, we gotta make it back up the mountain. And so let's do a little mountain run, shall we? Man, this thing's so much faster up the mountain than the Fit was. Holy cow. Man, we're pretty much up here. That is a nice little drive. And man, the views are better today. Less clouds. Let's do this brake run. Starting temperatures are 150 degrees for the rotor and 130 degrees for the caliper. Remember, we're gonna be maintaining 50 miles an hour once we get up there. Here's 50, so now we just cruise down. If we gotta brake, we gotta brake. If not, we're good. A little bit of brake here. Speed back up to 50, a little bit of brake here. I mean, they feel so much better just because they're not broken. That's the annoying thing. I don't know why they're doing that, to be honest. Usually that happens when you don't bed them in right, but I thought I did, so I don't know. All right, 60 to 0 test. Got to get up to 60 miles an hour. And 3, 2, 1. Certainly use the ABS more, so I think we got more braking power. And now we pull off to measure the temperature here. Oh, I see smoke coming out. Oh, I see smoke. Smoky, but yeah, it's only at 200 degrees. Very interesting. Oh, 300 there, and then the caliper, only 140, that's crazy. So it's just the rotor that's cooked. I probably don't have these bed in right, which is probably why they're screaming. Yeah, over here, 250, 260, and then caliper, 140, that's crazy. Okay, 150. So the new caliper gained about 20 degrees and the new rotor gained about 200 degrees during the mountain run test. That is significantly better than the factory brakes, especially the caliper. In addition to that, the time for the hot braking test was 2.92 seconds, 0.2 of a second faster than the stock brakes. And you can even see the difference. On the stock brakes, it kind of rolls to a stop, but these brakes skidded at the very end. let's go do cool braking test. Let these bad boys cool down. Go get some gas, because I'm almost out of gas. Hopefully I can make it to the gas station. Cruising at 60, brakes are cold, the exact same place in the road I did it last time. In 3, 2, 1. Woo! It certainly feels way faster, and I can feel the brake modulating the entire way. So if it's not faster, then it's because we're traction limited. Well, it was faster. That 60 to 0 run was 2.85 seconds. So a little over a tenth faster than the stock brakes. Now I will say, I think these brakes are pretty traction limited. With the stock brakes, you could barely hear the tires chirping at all. And with these brakes, they're screaming. Woo! Now that that's done, let's do another run without those silly 50-mile-an-hour speed limits, eh? See how hot they get? Actually pushing the car to my limits. I'm not going crazy here, guys. Don't want to crash or hurt the car or myself. I smell them a little bit, but they're not fading yet. Oh, I think they got a little slippery there for a second. This car is so fun. It's just so good. It's not a handful, not too much power, but just enough. Yeah, these brakes are getting hot for sure. But I will say, it's still like very grabby right when you give it any braking power. Like I was just dabbing on the brakes a little bit and I heard the ABS, you know, locking the tires up a bit. And man, on the fit brakes, if I actually pushed them, they would like really lose some of their oomph by the end of this run. They never totally gave out, but they would lose some oomph. And this hasn't really. They've held in there pretty good. Let's see how hot they are. And they're definitely smoking again. Like a lot. That's crazy, bro. Holy shit. But look, only 400 degrees. I mean, I don't know why they're smoking so much. And the caliper's still only 180 degrees. But look at that, the color of that rotor. That's crazy. So that's weird. They're like smoking way more than the stock brakes, but they're not as hot as the stock brakes. So I wonder if that's part of like the bedding in or what. I don't know. I don't know how that works. How does it look way hotter in every single way, but it isn't as hot? But guys, that is going to be it for this video. I love this car. These brake brakes have just transformed it even to the next level. I think it's official. I like this thing more than I liked the Fit. Even when the Fit was turboed, this thing is better now. And this thing isn't even turbo yet. This thing has bigger wheels, more grip, better brakes, probably worse suspension, but not much worse. I should say the suspension is better, but it just handles a little bit worse because it's so much heavier. It's got more power, it sounds better. The interior is way nicer, and it's just a nicer car to live with. I also think it looks way better. Fits look cool, but something about this car, I love it. It's an awesome car. Now I know you guys want to see two things. First of all, you want to see it turbocharged. Second of all, you want to see it taken to the track. We're doing both things, but before we do either, there's one more set of modifications we're going to do to the car as is. Full drivetrain rebuild. I'm talking new clutch, new shifter cables, and new motor mounts. That's going to improve the performance of the car, but it's also going to allow it to handle the extra horsepower. You know what happened to the Fit when we turbocharged it with the stock mounts and everything. But thankfully, since this is a 6-cylinder, the upgraded mounts, they're not going to be detrimental because this is a very smooth engine. But that's enough talk about that. But of course, if you want to watch it ahead of schedule, you can check out Patreon, where you'll support the channel, get early access to stuff, and access to exclusive content. Huge thank you guys for watching this video. Thank you for all the support on this build. Thank you to Aura for sponsoring this video. That's all for today. I'll see you next one. Peace out.